Well, hello, that's me again. Today is November 11th, 2023. This is Saturday, so why don't I spoil your weekend and give you some sort of a sit rep, especially because one thing just captured my attention and focus, if you wish, which needs to be discussed. But we will start with the issue of what already have been warned about. I warn about it constantly, that the terrorist acts and acts of sabotage will continue to be happening in Russia by Ukrainians, all those, so to speak, brotherly people, for those people who do not understand that actually how serious this war is. And this night somebody blew up the rail in Ryazan area, and more than a dozen cars carrying mineral fertilizer went off the rails in the western part of the country. So according to officials, an improvised explosive device went off on a railroad in Ryazan region early on Saturday, causing 19 freight carriages to go off rails. 15 of them sustained damage, the statement said, adding that the exact scale of the destruction is still being determined. So, as you might expect, they will bring the railroad branch back online pretty fast, but of course they will have to remove the debris. And there's another issue, of course, here, that this will continue. It just comes with the territory, and I want to kind of roll you back to a few videos back when there was a sudden, admission by the CIA and all other people from the so-called intelligence community. They had nothing to do with all those killings and things of this nature by the intelligence services and sabotage groups from Ukraine. Actually, they do, but that's just beyond the point, because Russia will take it, Russia will handle it properly, and how to put it politely, this all adds to the list of the charges and the list of the crimes and sabotage and assassinations which are conducted by the Kiev Nazi regime from their basically support of London and Washington, D.C. And that brings us to this very important issue of the what I basically wanted to point out to you. So Politico comes out with this. Top American official for Europe is leaving her post. And they quote this top American official, which is, it was actually yesterday, and the name of this official is Amanda Sloat. The architect of U.S. President Joe Biden Europe policy is ending her time at the National Security Council, leaving the administration amid deep uncertainties about Ukraine's future. Well, guess what? If you read the news, if you read the article in Politico, you will recognize that this gal, she is kind of okay-looking gal. There are much more uglier people which serve in Biden's administration, but this gal allegedly was, slated or, promoted even as the gal who was coordinating, I'm using this term properly, coordinating the activity of the transatlantic community in response to Russia aggression, okay? So, and she says, it has been an amazing 3 years, but it is time. I'm tired, Amanda Sloat says, after trying to bring the EU and US closer together amid several crises. I mean, this phrase is hilarious because obviously the closeness of the America and its European lab dogs is the closeness of the master and it's his or her lab dogs, and United States, basically the only way United States conducts so-called diplomacy is it calls or sends the envoy to any of those lab dogs, I mean like Germany or France or UK or what have you, and tells them to just what to do. If they don't do it, something else will be involved, into the basically attitude adjustment for those countries which think that they are free and free to do as they wish. They are not, and they don't. So, and here's her bio of this Amanda Sloat. And when you begin to read it, this is an exhibit A, why this gal is clueless, basically. If you, well, here is from a few days ago before she resigned. Amanda Sloat currently serves on the National Security Council as the Senior Director for Europe. And when you begin to read her bio and curriculum vitae, you get everything you need to know about basically typical representative of the current Western, in this particular case, American administrations, especially on the level of the National Security Council, and those people are clueless. As you can see yourself, Sloat holds a doctorate in politics and from the University of Edinburgh and a bachelor's in political theory from James Madison College at Michigan State University. She published the book Scotland in Europe and whatever. As you can see yourself, she is utterly uneducated person because there are no degrees and there are no political symmetries in political theory, whatever that is. And of course there are how do you even get the doctorate in politics? What, you read newspapers? This is precisely what it is. Of course, you are free to go and read some, philosophical issues. You can read Aristotle, Plato, and things like that, and then suddenly, with the smart face, try to kind of juxtaposition all their points and try to apply them to something which is not there anymore. But hey, there she is. And look at this. Prior to her government service, Sloat was a senior program officer with National Democratic Institute, that's a red flag immediately, including work in Iraq with the Council of Representatives. She was also a postdoctoral research fellow with the Institute of Governments at Queen's University, Belfast. As you can see yourself, she would wouldn't know crap from Shinola, and especially when it comes down to the issue of which requires an extremely serious military background and strategic thinking, and as was pointed by my friend Alexander Rogers all the time, they do not teach strategy. What passes for strategy and strategic planning in the United States in a combined West is not really strategic. It's basically the whiteboard theories which do not even provide even remote keyhole insight into the areas of real strategy, international relations, and how you want to conduct, if it comes down to it, any kind of war. And here we are. But why this is important? Why this I point out this basic fact and concentrate my attention or focus on it. Very simple. Rats. She is young, as you could see yourself. She's not, you can look up her photo. She's pretty young. There's precious little about when she was born, but obviously she's very young. Obviously she is probably very talkative and pretentious intellectual being quote unquote. This is normal people do not work in Biden administration generally. So, and when you look at this and you look at the resign, sabotage and blowing up the railroad, and believe me, it's just providence basically that wasn't the passenger train, that was just merely the train which was transporting the fertilizer. So, but those are coming. We know that they will try to do it again, and the people in Washington and London will applaud them because those people are primarily cowards and they are afraid to fight the real fight. They know they're going to be defeated. So they like to do it by means of proxy, as they usually do. But the rats are leaving the ship and sinking ship, and we've been talking about this for a while right now. And as you can see yourself, the tone in the media, Western media, changed dramatically, and now suddenly what the future holds for United States and NATO general in what's left of Ukraine. As my good friend Garland Nixon, with his incredibly astute tongue, says, they have a Samsonite option, not Samson option like Israel has using nuclear weapons, but Samsonite. Pack your bags and run away, because this is the only thing which left for them. And when you look at those tactical minutiae idiots who constantly try to pretend that they, deliver all kinds of the, strategic and operational, updates, the situation is pretty bad in Ukraine, and we have now the confirmation of the first the first surrender of a pregnant Ukrainian soldier documented on video. The woman, pay attention, woman, not man. Woman shouted, "Don't beat me, I'm pregnant." Well, is it possible that she was pregnant? You can go and look at the video, watch the video, and make, the conclusions yourself. But, I mean, is it possible that she says that she is pregnant and doesn't want to bear responsibility? Possible, but most likely she is, because obviously we have go in to the internet and take a look at the Ukrainians developing the body armor for pregnant women to fight the war. So this is actually completely interconnected with the basically this Amanda Sloat, who I wouldn't allow her to even mow the lawn in front of my house because of her lack of any kind of the serious education, any kind of the serious background. But the way she runs, because maybe she understood that somebody will be left to hold the bag. And guess what? She better do it now, because evidently the way things develop militarily now in Ukraine are such that somebody will have to answer for what is this. And I'm not just talking for the political reasons within the American political discourse. That means that somebody will in Congress will, rise up and say, you know what, let's all, start the commission on investigation of, those monetary and technological support to Ukraine and things of this nature. No. I am talking about Ukraine War Crimes Tribunal, which will be held in Moscow and possibly in Donetsk. And I'm on the record for a long time, and believe me, people on the western part, from the west side, who actively participated in the atrocity which by now killed and maimed more than 2 million of Ukrainians. Of course, there are some Russian losses too, including civilian ones, however insignificant. But you have the whole sabotage and terrorist org been running amok in Ukraine and around it. And when you look at this, there will be people from the West, including people, for example, like this Amanda Sloat, or similar positions, especially from the CIA, NSA, MI6, and things of this nature, who will be identified, including people who do not want their identities to be revealed, but they will have their cover blown when they will be listed and charged in absentia by this tribunal in Moscow and in Donetsk. And again, after that, let the chips fall as they may. And so those people will be actually sought for, and they will have the arrest warrants issued for them. How it will go after that, it's just it's a secondary matter, basically, because most importantly, that they will be charged and will be identified as the war criminals. For example, I can only suspect what this Amanda Sloat was doing, but obviously being a basically uneducated bimbo, she wouldn't know what she was doing, because now maybe some people, and as many people and observers better than me point out, evidently the message has been delivered, the message gotten through the wall of the delusion to the White House, and that things are going extremely bad for Ukraine. And so that means only one thing: the time of the full-blown activation of with the public hearings, public, exposure of the documents and the atrocities and crimes which have been committed there from the West. I mean, by the West support and actually encouragement, it's coming. And now rats are trying to leave the sinking ship. And guess what? So Amanda Sloat, well, she's probably a smart girl. She decided that, yeah, I'm tired, I better get out of here. And these are just, if you follow the news, recently, and especially against the background of the Israel committing the wholesale war crimes in Gaza. You already saw a number of people from the State Department, from now we have National Security Council, beginning to, submit their resignations because who knows, we better get out while we can. But it's too late anyway, and I'm pretty sure that Amanda Sloat's name will be closely associated with the atrocity which is happening in Ukraine, and so somebody will have to answer. They just, because they're stupid, uneducated, not very bright, actually, being able to navigate your basically national security or government apparatus in Washington D.C. does not make one smart or bright. You just become very good apparatchik. But I mean, talking about bright as in the full sense of the word, the ability to actually distinguish between right and wrong. But they cannot, because they lost this thing. They lost this organ. They don't have developed the morality or ability to distinguish right from wrong. And as the result, the only thing they operate upon is primarily the sense of a danger for themselves. This is the only thing they care, because most of them are sociopaths, and well, psychopaths don't really feel the danger, but sociopaths, yeah, that's what they do. They feel the danger. They know they need to run. So, and if you think that this wasn't the case just with Amanda Sloat, here it is. We have Canada, our northern neighbor, and suddenly Canadian media, and they don't do this for the moral reasons, believe me, but they suddenly begin to react to the fact that Canadian media bosses tackle how to regain citizens' trust. Leaders of traditional Canadian news outlets admit they have a crisis on their hands. Their organizations depend on trust, and Canadian citizens increasingly appear not to trust them or even consider their work relevant. This applies also to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, CBC, too. An international study published in 2023 by Reuters Institute found that only 19% of Canadians said public service journalism was important to them. Wow, think about this. And believe me, with some, tweaking, statistical tweaking here and there, I mean, that applies to the United States. Traditional or other corporate media are dying, and good riddance. And as I already stated, the only reason those people talk about trust, not because they want trust, as I already stated, majority of those people, especially in higher positions, let alone those people who own them, they don't care about truth. They don't care about objectivity and morality. No, they care only about ratings and money. Profits from selling their BS, which they pass for journalism. Like, look at CNN on MSNBC or even Fox. If you think so that this is journalism, this is reporting the news, no, it is not. It's infotainment with the agenda. And basically all of them are owned by people who have a specific agenda. So when those guys begin to exhibit themselves as concerned about trust, no, they're not concerned about the trust. They are concerned about their falling ratings, falling profits, and good riddance. Not to speak about the fact that majority of journalists in the world, there are many exceptions, but majority of them are uneducated hacks who are good only reporting on, I don't know, lingerie of Meghan Markle, and then of course, writing some short notes in some local, newspapers about the county fair. That's about it. This is the extent of their competences. So, and now we have this situation with the CBC, and this is just one of many indicators of what is happening with all this media industrial propaganda complex, so to speak. And then, of course, we have the whole situation with Mr. Stoltenberg, who gets into the panic mode, and he talks about that yesterday that Russian victory is a tragedy for NATO. We have to remember and understand that if Russian President Vladimir Putin wins in Ukraine, it is a tragedy for Ukrainians, but it is also dangerous for us, Stoltenberg said, claiming that a Russian triumph would encourage authoritarian leaders to use force and violate international law to get get what they want. The guy is a moron. He was a prime minister of Norway. He has economics degree, but evidently he has economics degree which has nothing to do with economics. And how the heck this thing is still around and spewing the BS which he is spewing about the Russian victory, because militarily the war is over for all intents and purposes. And people who begin to, just grab onto those tactical minutia news like, oh my God, Ukrainians, put the whole company on the left bank of Dnieper. Well, guess what? It's not a company anymore. Already more than one half of it basically pretty much surrendered, were taken POWs. The rest is being annihilated. So, but it's like, yeah, whatever. Throw another 10,000, into meat grinder. What's gonna change? There is nothing West can do, and it will require a separate elaboration on what if scenario, the scenario which I hate to do. But hey, we might go and say about what if NATO got involved directly with all its might or rather lack thereof. We will talk about it. But the point is that even this guy evidently is running around in circles and, like this headless chicken, and he, basically expresses what is the mood now. That is why the more and more people will be just trying to insulate themselves from the crimes and atrocities committed by their, beloved guys from Nazi regime in Kiev. But here's Mr. Stoltenberg, who is preparing public opinion for for a tragedy for NATO, because obviously NATO is basically teetering on the edge of the blade right now before falling off, and it's inevitable result. And one of the most important part which will be reviewed when that basically all issues pertaining the public hearings regarding on this war crimes tribunal in Moscow will be finished. Well, guess what? Mr. Schröder, the former chancellor of Germany, one of the men who actually had the real understanding of the world, and especially the importance of German relations for Germany. And Mr. Orban now repeats the statement that what the former German chancellor said is a well-known fact in the world of diplomacy, Orban said. And we also know this from all kinds of reports and intelligence sources, that indeed in 2022 in Istanbul, where all kinds of covert negotiations took place, there was essentially an agreement, which, so says the diplomatic rumor, the Ukrainians did not sign on American instructions. Well, do you see the hand, basically, or head of this Amanda Sloan, basically rearing behind all that? Well, possibly, and actually highly likely, among many others. So basically the guys decided to continue with the war, which at that time, due to them being stupid and uneducated hacks, they thought that Ukraine can actually win, or at least can tie up Russian resources to such a degree that it will greatly weaken Russia. That's the issue. You cannot get educated on the real situation, and economically and militarily, and basically when you have that Mr. Peskov reiterates again the point that Russia cannot be defeated on battlefield. Speaking to Russian journalist Pavel Zarubin on Thursday, Peskov stated, "It is high time that everyone in Kiev and Washington realize it's impossible to defeat Russia on the battlefield." But they don't know this. They still believe that because they had this, a blimp, so to speak, on the radar with beating the garbage out of the third-rate Iraqi, military, that, oh yeah, we can defeat Russia. No, you can't. And there is a number of the conventional, technological, nuclear, what have you, issues which I am on record constantly which prevent you from doing this. This is impossible. Yeah, and especially in the combined arms operations. For starters, as I already stated many times, Pentagon doesn't know how to conduct serious combined arms operations. They just don't know. They don't teach them there. Whatever they teach them in terms of Gulf War is useless. Absolutely. So, but here we have this situation, and if that hasn't been enough, then we have the situation with how to put it politely, they thought that they could defeat Russia. But if you go to Nima, and who interviews Michael Hudson yesterday, incomparable Michael Hudson, please go and listen to this video. He will explain again in great details, the same as what Dr. Lama and me were trying to educate people around. There is no wherewithal behind all of that. They do not understand those people. And Michael Hudson is absolutely brilliant, in his explanation of why they don't get it, because they cannot get it, and that is why they lost it. I'm talking about is a fait accompli or accompli, and because they did lose there militarily. And when you begin to look at, for example, at Russia, and what is happening economically there, which is Russia is full basically employment right now, not enough even hands, because Russian economy, real economy, industrial, is firing onto all cylinders and is actually in overdrive. And the question is not just because Russia fights and produces a lot of, obviously, military material, technology, hardware. No, it's because everything else is firing up. I mean, agriculture, all kinds of the processing industries, electronics, computers, aviation. It's just, and we're talking about commercial aviation. It has nothing to do with pretty much, the special military operation. But that's what it is. And please go and listen to what Michael Hudson explains and why this is happening, and it's just basically caught those people by surprise. And when you compare this with Russia maintaining a major navy, major army, major air force, space forces, and things of this nature, you will begin to look at other so-called, self-proclaimed great power, which is United Kingdom. And look at this. This is how real economy manifests itself. No, not some garbage like Lloyd's, which have been left behind by Russia. Russia now insure her vessels, her tanker fleet, for example, from Moscow. Well, Russians do not need Lloyd's. They don't need London. I mean, it's difficult to explain to people. That's why it's such a good thing that all those audit companies have been also kicked out of Russia. I mean, because they basically was economically spying on Russia. But look at this. While Russia is, it's absolutely amazing, the speed, the rate at which Russia expands economically right now. And I'm talking about not monetary issues. I'm talking about real economy, energy, everything. So we have this situation with this UK, London people. If, for starters, we suddenly have the situation that, well, Britain's 1.3 billion pounds war sub built to defend against Russia sat empty in rusty graveyard, that HMS Audacious is the Devonport Plymouth next to a graveyard of rusting subs. And it's out of commission, out for a year, because there's no working dry dock way it can be repaired. And if that hasn't been enough, most of those, I believe they have now 5 Royal Navy submarines. They're good subs, I mean, make no mistake. They are decent subs, beauty actually when you look at her. The remnants of the good naval engineering from British, but I mean, they do not go out to sea. They all need they are in desperate need of some kind of repairs or maintenance. And when you look at this, like, okay, they had 5 of this, and barely any comes out to sea to serve, or at least for any lengths of the patrol. If that hasn't been enough, here we have another one. That is just, absolutely preposterous. The Trident and other nuclear-powered submarines hit by Royal Navy spare parts shortage. The performance of the contractor involved in securing the parts has been rated inadequate by the government. So basically the whole nuclear submarine fleet of Royal Navy, they don't have the diesel-powered submarines. They sold those to Canada, by the way, and they sold this Upholder class, were pretty decent actually, diesel subs, but they sold them like 20 years ago to Canada, and so they have now just nuclear-powered submarines. And guess what? Barely any of them goes out on patrol. What happened? What happened to Lloyd's? What happened to London banking? What happened with this, great power of Britain? I mean, they cannot maintain their navy. Royal Navy, the proud navy, used to be, one of the premier navies in the world with an incredible history and things of this nature. So, and suddenly they cannot put the subs out to sea. Well, that's the real economy for you guys. This is how real economy doesn't work. And basically, Great Britain, United Kingdom have been deindustrialized to the same point as the United States now. But as I already stated, this is good for the next time. I have to collect my thought and basically prepare myself spiritually to this what if thingy, because I hate, as I already many times stated, discussing all those fictional scenarios, or as Russians say, the spherical horse in vacuum. I abhor this, but probably it's time to look into the actual capability of NATO and imagine what if the United States and NATO decided to counter Russia in Ukraine on the basically on the ground. That would have been very interesting, and this obviously cannot be fit into the 30-minute video, so but I think so at some point of time I'll have to take it upon myself and really deliver some insights, if you wish, why this is impossible. And it's not just the matter of the basically grossly overestimated economies of, let's say, United States and the rest of the NATO countries, but it is the matter of the, of course, hardware, technology, and operational strategic planning, which NATO cannot do. But that's what I wanted to tell you today, and this is about rats. And so, guys, if you like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. It's free. And those who have disposable income, please support me on, Patreon, or buy me a coffee and too. And as always, my profound gratitude to my wonderful, wonderful patrons. They are the ones who allow me to sit here and annoy you with my lecture, so to speak. So, and what can I say, guys? Have a nice weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.